Christmas, Christmas.
The snow's coming down. I'm watching it fall.
Lots of people around. Baby, please come home.
The church bells in town are ringing in song.
Full of happy sounds. Baby, please come home. They're singing Deck the Halls, but it's not like Christmas at all. 'Cause I remember when you were here and all the fun we had last year. Pretty lights on the trees, and watching them fall. And I know you should be here with me. Baby, please come home.
Oh, baby, please
Oh,
come.
baby, please come home.
Baby, please come.
Oh, baby, please. They're singing Deck the Halls, but it's not like Christmas at all. 'Cause I remember when you were here.
And all the fun we had last year.
If there was a way, I'd hold back these tears. But it's Christmas Day. Please, 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 so baby, please come home. Oh,
Baby, please come home.
how I need you, how I need you. Hey.
Christmas.
And baby, baby, how I need you, darling. Oh, baby, please come home. Good morning, Alive. Let's all stand and worship together. Sing the first Noel. The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold
worship when we're in this place together. So let's continue to worship him and lift up his praise this morning.
We sing this together. And come, thou long-expected Jesus, born to set thy people the bearer of the light. Thank you that we get to be your children, God. I pray that you would speak in this room, that you would move in our hearts to believe that you have truly made a way for us to know you. We love you, God. It's in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen. You guys can have a seat.
Hey Alive, I'm Ariel, and we are so glad to be celebrating Christmas with all of you. We know that there may be some new faces joining us this holiday season, and if that's you, we'd love to say hey and connect with you. If you're in person, we have a guest tent outside, or if you're online, there's a link in the chat. We want to get you set up well with some next steps and give you a gift, so be sure to say hey before you leave today. The fact that we worship God as one church in many locations is such an incredible honor. And when we worship, it's time to give God all of our praise, adoration, and thanks. As we continue in this time of worship, we want to bring God His tithe and our offering. You can give at the back doors after service if you're at a physical location, or no matter where you're worshiping today, you can text GIVE to this number or head to our website and give there. Alive is committed to giving and growing. Your financial support has been part of blessing schools, organizations, and projects in our local communities. Funds have been used to reduce debt, improve technology, and ensure our church remains an excellent environment for people to bump into Jesus. So, considering an end-of-year gift is a great way to increase Alive's ability to be generous, as well as further advance the mission to see spiritually hungry people across the upstate and around the world meet God, grow in faith, and make a difference. If you intend to make a 2022 year-end gift, it needs to be received at Alive, online, or postmarked by December 31st. Thank you for allowing God to use you as a part of His faithful provision for Alive. One more thing. We want to invite you to be a part of our Christmas Eve services. We have services on the 23rd and 24th at our Central Campus. Grab your friends, grab your family, and join us for this meaningful time of singing, celebrating, and a traditional candle lighting moment. Check out all of the details and campus service times at AliveWesleyan.com.
Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome those who are worshiping in the room, worshiping in the chapel, worshiping at one of the campuses, worshiping online, worshiping in the overflow. Glad you're all here. Hey, listen, in all of the seats, you have this convenient little stocking. And I'm assuming if we get this size stocking, it was a bad year for you. But in the stocking, these folks have put the Christmas invitations. So you can take these, there's two invitations in here, and they're for the Christmas Eve services. On the 23rd, it's 5 and 6:30. On the 24th, it's 3:30 and 5. All the same service. Just trying to make room for everybody to come. So take it home and give it to your friends, give it to family, and just someone that you say, this may be their time, you know, that they're ready for it. So make use of that. That'd be fantastic. Also, we reached out to Clemson Community Care this week, and actually they contacted us. They are in need of canned foods, and we let them know that next Sunday we're doing the canned food drive. So whichever campus you go to, bring canned foods, put them in the lobby, and we'll make sure they all get to those food community type things that we have going on. So met with the senior adults this week, went to their Christmas party. Tom and Lori do this wonderful thing of kind of cooking their meal every year, and it's so much fun. And you sing carols, and we do 12 days of Christmas. And so I was there with some of the staff, and they were very offended by my comments related to fruitcake last week. And so they got me this shirt that I had to wear. It says, "I'm just here for the fruitcake." And then they gave me a fruitcake, which was delightful. And so I did. I tried it again. I tried it, and I put it in my mouth, and I realized it's still an abomination to God. And so, listen, if you got a fruitcake, throw it in the wood stove. I mean, just maybe it'll burn well. I don't really know. But you shouldn't put that in your mouth. It'll kill you. It's got everything that's bad. But they gave me that shirt, and then they also gave me this, which was a very special gift. It's my own bobblehead. Yeah, and so I get to sit. He watches me all day. He's sitting on my desk, and I like I said, you remember those eight balls you shook to see what the next step should be? So I just hit him in the head. It's like, hey, should we do this? He's like, he's saying that's how I figure things out now. But they were so nice. So I have a bobblehead. That was wonderful. I had a good time with them. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we get the time together. I'm glad we get to prepare our hearts for Christmas, and I want to do that in the most spiritually sensitive way possible. And so let's have a word of prayer as we do this. Lord, thank you so much for your love. Thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for all those we're worshiping together now in this moment. And Lord, we do so because we need you. We need you. This isn't something we're just doing for convenience. It's because of an awareness of how deeply we are dependent upon you. And so, Father, today we'd be so blessed if you would speak to our hearts, whether we're carrying an issue as a community or as an individual, and just speak to our hearts, whether these words or words that have already been sung in one of our services. And we want you to receive glory. So we trust you in that, in your name. Amen. Well, if you weren't able to be here last week, we started by introducing this word mean, and we used the Grinch. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. And we all agreed that when it comes to the Grinch, mean is like aggressive or, angry kind of individual. And then we realized, well, mean also has several meanings to it. And one of the meanings of mean is average or mediocre, kind of like the intro to the message so far. It's just kind of been average or mediocre. That's like mean. And so that's sort of captured our attention this Christmas. And the reason it has is this. I don't know that I've ever met somebody who said, hey, Tom, you know what? I just started out and decided I wanted to live a mean life. I just want to be average. I just want to hit average on all fronts. I don't recall talking to a high school or college graduate and say, my goal, Tom, is I want to nail average with the rest of my life. Whatever I can do to keep it right there, kind of a C student. Nobody begins a marriage and they sit on the couch and we're doing the premarital and they look at me and they say, oh, Tom, if we could possibly use our marriage to write the most average love story ever, that's really what we want to do. Nobody does that. And yet, if we were to have honest conversations, we would all confess to knowing people who are doing just that. And if we knew each other even maybe a little more intimately, some of us might confess it ourselves. Yeah, Tom, we're kind of right there in the middle. We're kind of hitting average. That's how we'd categorize our own life. And on top of just life, in our business, many people would say they're living mean lives when it comes to matters of faith, when it comes to a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. They'd say, we're really not the top of the class. We're probably not the bottom. I figure we're somewhere right here in the middle when it comes to the baby that we're celebrating at Christmas. And Jesus isn't the main reason we're living, but he's part of why we're living. We're trying to be good people, but if we remove Jesus from our lives, there would be kind of little change overall. We could still kind of maintain where we are. And so I was thinking, how could I illustrate that in such a way that it might have some meaning to us? And I thought, well, food. Food always works. And so here, let me see if I illustrate it to you this way. So most of us are going to have a Christmas dinner or 12, however many we're going to have, and it's going to be this amazing meal. And at the center of the meal is always going to be the showpiece. That is the meat. This is the meat. It's the showpiece of every Christmas dinner. The items around which everything else will be positioned. It starts with the meat. I think of Christmas ham. That's kind of my thing. I think that's an amazing Christmas meal. I have friends who do steaks and other friends who do venison. You can substitute whatever meat you want. If you're a vegetarian, this illustration will be over soon. Just stay with me, okay? Whatever. So it doesn't work for vegetarians, but just for meat. So once you have the meat selected, then you begin to select the sides that go with that meat. Do you understand? There are some sides that don't go with a certain kind of meat. I don't know what they are, but there are some. There's some that they don't go with the same kind of meat. And so you have this meat, and you say, well, if we have this kind of meat, we get the potatoes, and then we get the kind of vegetables we're going to have, we get the kind of bread, the type of salad, because the meat is the center of the meal. When it comes to faith, some people have settled for a side dish of faith, not faith as the main course. I thought you'd do better than that. Because now, so let me go further. No, just stay with me. For some of us, faith is asparagus, not steak. Yeah, now, see, the light just dawned. I can feel it. Okay, let me go on. Your faith, some of you, it's a Brussels sprout. Not a beautiful ham with that sugary goodness dripping off its edges and a chunk of pineapple as a garnish. You have faith, it's on the table, but it isn't the main focus of the table. So, of course, when faith is a side dish, when it's removed, you barely notice. If you forget the Christmas ham, everybody notices. If you forget the Brussels sprouts, nobody cares. You guys, I'm surprised you're not blown away. That was incredible. I mean, faith is mean for many people. It's not the central piece. It's part of you, but it's not the core part of you. Well, Christmas is this invitation to change that. Christmas is this invitation to take faith and put it front and center in every relationship we have. In our families, in our children, our grandchildren, and in who we are. It's this invitation to make faith the central part. Christmas means we no longer have to settle for average lives and families and identities and reputations and experiences because things have now changed. Because there's a word that defeats average. And it's a fresh option because of Christmas. There is this word that lifts us from average lives and moves us into abundant lives. There is this word that provides meaning and purpose to the mundane and the complex. There is this word that redeems all of this life, its struggles and its celebrations. There is a word that turned an ordinary cattle trough into a cradle for the Son of God. And Christmas is this invitation, you ready? To be holy, to live holy lives. If life without Jesus is average, life with Jesus is holy. And as we become like Jesus, we become holy. But what in the world does that mean? What does it mean to be holy? What can we sink our teeth into? I think a great definition of what it means to be holy is to be set apart for the purposes of God. In other words, we become like the baby. We become like the manger. We become like Mary and Joseph. We're now set apart for the purposes of God. We too are living lives. Why? For God's glory and purpose. We're no longer on the race of who dies with the most toys. We're no longer trying to pain avoidance kind of life. No. Our whole agenda for why we get up and our feet hit the rug in the bedroom to start the day is this will be a holy day. We will live holy lives because holy defeats average. Holy defeats mean. But we can't make ourselves holy. You can't read a book. You can't join a monastery. Stop saying bad words and suddenly you're holy. How does holy happen? Well, at the end of last week, I kind of settled on these two things. Consecration is this. It's where we dedicate ourselves and all that we have to God's purposes. Lord, you can have it all. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You can have it all. I'm giving it to you. I'm offering it to you. This is our part. We're surrendering our part. And then there's sanctification. This is God's part. This is where he takes who we are, our sin, wrongs, and he makes it holy. God does that. Now listen, here's what people do. People try to make themselves holy. And what they discover is they've actually making themselves good people, but not holy people. When we find out we can't make ourselves holy, we get frustrated. We wonder if this whole thing even works. Sometimes we go on the offensive and we start judging people, putting other people down so we'll feel better about ourselves. People who aren't cleaning up the outside like we're cleaning up the outside. We find ourselves comparing ourselves to whole groups of people thinking we're better than someone. People walk away from faith because they were not successful in making themselves holy, which leads to this very, very important truth. There is no way I can make myself holy. You all seem like very nice people. But there is no way, as nice as you are, you can make yourself holy. God does that. He does it in partnership with me. I surrender this life, all I have to God. His work is to make me holy. So I have an illustration of this that I want to spend the rest of the message on. And the illustration of this whole process that I want to use is the word lights. Christmas is this time of lights, and it's just Christmas time. Have you ever noticed we don't put lights out at Easter? It's really just Christmas time that we really start doing lights. I bet you have lights in your home or on your tree. Some of y'all get those little ones you stick in the windows, you know? You gotta lick the little, and you stick them in the window. You know, so you have those lights in the windows, and they're everywhere. And it's appropriate that there are so many lights because lights are actually symbolic to what we're speaking about. This relationship between what we do and what God does in lifting our lives from average. One of the men who walked with Jesus for his 3 years in ministry, he wrote a book of his eyewitness account. It's in the scriptures. It's a book called John. And in the first chapter of John, he describes Jesus. And these are the words he used. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. Isn't that a strange description? Think about all the other choices he could have made. John chose light, the one that is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. Another guy, contemporary of John's, was Matthew. Matthew walked with Jesus 3 years, recorded his eyewitness account. In Matthew 4, he quotes Isaiah. The people living in darkness, that's us, have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. A light has dawned. So what is it with all the darkness and light imagery around Christmas time? What is it that a light had? Why all the darkness? You see, in Scripture, darkness always refers to evil and ignorance. Whenever there's darkness in Scripture, it's evil and ignorance. So darkness and evil means the world is filled with evil and untold suffering. At the time of Jesus' birth, the headlines were filled with violence and injustice and abuses of power and homelessness and refugees fleeing oppression and families being ripped apart and grief. And we can see all those things in our world, right? We see them all. Our world is so dark. In fact, our world is so dark, we're now entertained by tales of darkness that come across our TVs. That's how dark we are. Darkness is now entertaining to us. Darkness is evil, but darkness is also ignorance. Nobody knows the cure for the evil and suffering in our world. Have you noticed that? Nobody knows how to make it better. We can't medicate our way out of it. We can't mediate our way out of it. We can't mandate our way out of it. We can't elect our way out of it. We have no idea how to stop the darkness in our world. And truth be told, we have no idea what to do with the darkness in our own lives. Even though we look good on the outside, but there's every once in a while those thoughts come banging in. You're like, where in the world did that come from? It's darkness. And the fact we're surrounded by evil and ignorance is what Matthew says when he quotes the Isaiah passage. The people were living in darkness. Friends, that's us. In this story, that's us. That's my home. Respectfully, that's your home. That's your community. People living in darkness describes all of us. Let me show it to you in Isaiah. Nevertheless, there will be no more gloom for those who are in distress. Read it with me. The people walking in darkness. How about them apples? The people walking in darkness, that's us, apparently have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. These are familiar words to most of us. We've heard it every time of year, Christmas time of year. A great light dawned. Here's a question. Why was a great light needed? What caused that? Why did we need a light? Have you ever read what was happening that resulted in the need for light? It's the end of Isaiah, but nobody ever reads the end of Isaiah. We just start the good part, Isaiah 9. But Isaiah 8 explains why we need the light of God. The people of that day were so desperate to understand their own darkness, so desperate to understand the meaning of an average life, and if this is all there is, so desperate for light, if you will, that they turned to consulting with ghosts and spirits and magicians instead of God. These are the people of God. Here's how chapter 8 ends. When men tell you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? If they do not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. Distressed and hungry, they will roam through the land. Now listen, when I read this last part, see if it resembles our culture at all. So distressed and hungry, they will roam through the land. When they are famished, they will become enraged, and looking upward will curse their king and their God. Then they will look toward the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom, and they will be thrust into utter darkness. That's how chapter 8 ends. The people were in such darkness, they were looking to mediums and mystics for solutions. They're looking to people who are dead to make sense of their living. They're sitting at the feet of those who mutter and whisper to dead people, but do not have the truth. And as they become frustrated with the lack of truth, this is what I'm saying, this is happening all over right now. As they become frustrated with their lack of truth and the increase of darkness, evil, and ignorance, they get angrier and angrier. Have you noticed? Y'all remember when road rage was just road rage? Now it's like parking lot rage. I didn't even know you could get mad in a parking lot, but now you can get mad in a parking lot. People are getting angrier and angrier. It's on the rise. People cry out at all authority. People conclude there's no truth, there's no light, there's no authority, there's only darkness. That sounds so eerily familiar to me. I would suggest we are trending toward darkness as a society. Aren't we trending toward attacking authority? Aren't we getting angrier? And people are looking to their sources to get us out of it, and they're getting angrier because their sources are disappointing them. Oh, the government's going to fix it. No, it's not. Some are going to say the market will fix it. Everyone's looking to technology and all the wisdom of social media to fix it. And all of these behaviors are based on this same assumption. Things are dark, but we believe we can end that darkness ourselves. You see, we all have the same weak spot, believer or non-believer, and we wrestle with it constantly in this life. We humans are constantly forgetting that we're not God. So we're going to control everything and fret over everything, worry about everything. The horrible truth of Christmas is why Christmas had to happen. Isaiah 8 is correct. If we look only to ourselves, the world is very, very dark. You see, Christmas is the most no-nonsense way of looking at life. Amidst all the celebrations, all the wonderful stories, Christmas does not say, cheer up. We can do this if we work together. No, we can't. We can't fix things by trying harder. You can't change your marriage, fight your addiction, get over your shame and guilt by trying just to do the right things. Those things may help, but it will still be dark at the core. A key message of Christianity is things really are this bad and we can't save ourselves. Merry Christmas. Feel like I kind of just laid a fruitcake right there in the middle of our celebration, you know what I'm saying? Well, let's see if I can drag us out of here. Key message of Christianity is things really are this bad. But the message of Christmas is that on those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. And now we're ready to hear the solution to what I began with. You remember I said it's appropriate there are so many lights because lights are symbolic to what we're speaking of. This relationship between what we do and what God does is lifting our lives from average. Isaiah 9:2, the people walking in darkness have seen, that's us, have seen a great light. On those living in the shadow of death, a light has dawned. Notice it doesn't say the light came from us. It doesn't say Tom finally got his act together and flicked a light switch. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say, oh, Tom finally led his family out of darkness. It doesn't say that. It says the light came to us. A light dawned on us. This light didn't come from within. This light came from without Christians. There is a light outside of us, and Jesus has brought that light, and we celebrate that at Christmas. God alone has this light, has this truth, this joy, and this abundant life, and we cannot generate it on our own. How can this light dawn on us? How do we get the light? Isaiah 9, for to us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called, let's read it together, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. A light has come. How? A child is born. God sent his son because we didn't have the light. How does a child bring light? The child is fully man and fully God. He is Wonderful Counselor. Look at the descriptors. Mighty God, Everlasting Father, never bails, constant, Prince of Peace. And what is most stunning about these descriptors is they are only truly, ultimately appropriate for God. He is the everlasting Father, always there, always depend on, always constant. He's the Wonderful Counselor, knows us fully, knit us together in our mother's womb. He is the mighty God. He's not anemic. He's powerful. And the Prince of Peace, a ruler of peace. And yet, he is born and lays in a manger. Now, if this baby is God, if this baby is bringing light into this world, then the implications, friends, are simply massive. If we're really buying what we're celebrating, let me just offer two implications, and you can add to the list. If Jesus is really mighty God and everlasting Father, then we can't just like him. It can't be a picture with Santa Claus kind of thing. You go to the mall, scare the bejeebers out of your kids, and you put them on Santa's lap, right? And they're going to get the crying picture. And then we get a picture, and then we pay $429 for a picture with Santa. And then we go home, and we don't think about Santa again till next year. If Jesus is the Son of God, that can't be this. We can't have this moment. This isn't where we have an affirmation where we heart a picture or like a post on social media. This isn't Santa where you take it or leave it. When people met Jesus, they were never indifferent. There was only two responses, scared and angry, or they knelt down and worshiped. That's it. Because a light had dawned. And it either makes you scared and angry, or you kneel down and worship. If Jesus is really mighty God, you can't just like him. Here's my second one. If Jesus is a Wonderful Counselor and Prince of Peace, why would I want to serve anybody else with my one and only life? I mean, if it's real, if it's not real, fine. But if it's real, why would I want to do anything else? Counselor? This is a game changer. Again, something that is unique to Christianity amidst all other world religions. We have this God who understands us from the inside of the human experience. You get it? So when you go to God to tell him you're stressed, he knows what that is. When you go to God and tell him you're afraid, he knows what it is to be afraid. There's no other religion that says God had to suffer or God had to be courageous. Our God knows what it is like to be abandoned by friends, to be crushed by injustice, to be tortured and die. Christmas shows the baby knows what we are going through. That may be why some of you are here. That one sentence, Christmas and the Christmas lights remind you God knows exactly what you're grinding through right now. And when we talk to him, he understands because Jesus is a light for us when all other lights have gone out. And now comes the best news of all. Because now we're ready to hear how we move or escape the average life and embrace an abundant life. Now we are ready to hear how our homes can be transformed, our relationships, our self-esteem, identity. And it's going to surprise you because we're all geared to doing, but we just heard this is about dawning. I just made that up just for you people. Yeah, this is all about the light that dawned on us. How do we people that accept the gift humble themselves? What does that mean? It means we realize that we're so lost, so unable to save ourselves, that nothing less than the light himself can help us. Christmas makes me do something I'm so uncomfortable doing. Humbling myself and saying, I need. We don't do that anywhere, do we? This baby in the manger makes me kneel before this baby, for heaven's sake. I need you. I need this light to defeat the darkness. Do you understand? It's not about what I can do for myself. It's about what I need God to do in and for me. Do you ever notice the last line of that Isaiah passage that we read this time of year? It's at the end of verse 7. Check it out. The zeal of Tom. Let's do it together. 1, 2. Come on, read it with me. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. What that means, respectfully, it ain't you. You can't do it. Holy people are humble people who have faced their need for help from outside of themselves and have built lives so dependent on the Christ child that they truly could not live without him. That's what holiness is. C.S. Lewis, in his book Miracles, summarizes all this, and probably what I should have done is just read these 2 paragraphs to you and called it a day. But I felt like you all want your money back or something, if I just kind of did that, so I thought maybe I should save it to the end. In his book, Miracles, C.S. Lewis writes, we catch sight of a new key principle, the power of the higher. In the Christian story, God comes down from the heights of absolute being into time and space, down into humanity, down further still, if embryologists are right, to recapitulate in the wound ancient and pre-human phases of life, down to the very roots and seabed of the nature he has created. But he goes down to come up again and bring the whole ruined world up with him. One may think of a diver, first reducing himself to nakedness, then glancing in midair, then gone with the splash and vanished, rushing down through green and warm water into black and cold water, down through increasing pressure in the death-like region of ooze and slime and old decay, then up again, back to color and light, his lungs almost bursting, till suddenly he breaks the surface again, holding in his hand the dripping precious thing that he went down to recover, me and you. That's Christmas. That's the light. And that's why the light matters. Do you remember what happened when Jesus was crucified on the cross? Darkness at noon. Remember? And do you remember that it was the dawn of a new day when the discovery is made the tomb is empty? I've been praying weird again. I don't know if it's weird. Friends, family is going through such difficult time right now. I mean, excruciating kind of stuff. And I just found myself start praying that God would bring light to darkness. You got any situations in your life where you want God to bring light to darkness? That's a Christmas prayer. That's a Christmas prayer. Man, Tom, my heart is so heavy. Guilt and shame. Lord, bring light to darkness. And tell my kids running, want nothing to do with me. Oh God, would you bring light to darkness? Now this thing that I thought held, it's now holding me and it has control. I don't know if I can ever be free. God, a light has dawned. Bring light to darkness. Jesus, that's my prayer for everybody listening to the sound of my voice. It's the prayer for this pastor's heart. Oh, Lord, bring light to darkness. Bring light to darkness. Let's all just say it together. Lord, bring light to darkness. Let's say it again. Lord, bring light to darkness. Whatever area, whatever place and burden that we're carrying right now, Lord, bring light to darkness. We're going to give up doing that ourselves. We can't bring light. You bring light to darkness. And my prayer, Lord, by the power of your Spirit, we'll all be sitting in our homes sometime this season or driving down the road and we'll see a special light and we'll remember the baby brings light to darkness because we needed a light from without us to come live within us. Ah, that's beautiful, Jesus. Ah, Jesus, I'm so glad you came. I want to pray for my friends who are believers. And they're very much aware in this moment, you're the side dish and not the main course. Lord, bring light to darkness. You ask God, don't you beat yourself up. You don't have to do that. Don't do that. You just ask God to show you the way forward. And when he says something, when he leads, you follow. He'll reveal it. For my friends in the room, maybe you don't know Jesus, or maybe you've been running for a while, but for some reason today is your day and you know it. Ask God to bring light to your darkness, evil and ignorance. Lord, chase it out of our hearts. In your own words, ask God to forgive you for those things. It might be worth your time to stop by the prayer room, right out of these doors, and prayer rooms right outside there, wherever you're worshiping. People just like me, just like you are there to pray with you. Light to darkness. Oh, Jesus, people struggling with illness, light to darkness. Bring the darkness out of the light, light out of the darkness. Heal, restore, comfort. Use all things for your glory and your goodness. Thank you for coming in your name. Amen.
Let's all stand and respond together. Sing Breaking Through. Breaking through the silence with glory in the highest, the hope of all creation, resting in his mother's arms. A song on the horizon, ringing through the heavens, the long-awaited Savior, come to set the captives free. Come to set the captives free. Come set us free. And a hope has a name, Emmanuel, the light of the world, who broke through the darkness. All hail the King, Emmanuel, the light of the world, the glory of heaven. We didn't see it coming. The story of redemption, what started in a manger, oh, ended in an empty grave. And oh, I know that hope has a name, Emmanuel, the light of the world, who broke through the darkness. All hail the King, Emmanuel, the light of the world, the glory of heaven. Come if you're broken, come if you're searching, and if you need healing, he's where you find it. Oh, lay down your burdens and breathe in forgiveness. And if you need freedom, hey, he's where you find it. Oh, if you need freedom, he's where you find it. Yes, he's where you find it. And hope has a name, Emmanuel, the light of the world, who broke through the darkness. All hail the King, Emmanuel, the light of the world. Sing hope has a name, hope has a name, Emmanuel, the light of the world, who broke through the darkness. And all hail the King, Emmanuel, the light of the world, the glory of heaven. Amen. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope you have an awesome week.